This is how we assembled the G4 slide. The first step is going to be to put the short leg into the foot. Now there are 3 feet. The one that has a slant to it is going to go on the ladder. The one that's going to go on the steel support pole is identical to the one that goes on the short leg, with the exception that on the flange right there, that bolt hole is much larger than the one that's going to be used on the short leg. So make sure you've got the right foot. Now the short leg, the holes that are going to go down into the foot are 4.5 inches from the top. So make sure you've got the right end going down. Okay, then you just pick up the foot receiver, slip it over, and align the holes. Then you're going to take a bolt and anti-seize. It's very, very, very important that you use the anti-seize on the bolts, or the nuts are going to seize. Okay, so take the bolt and then take a flat washer. Align the holes, slip the bolt through, pick up another flat washer and a locking nut. Go ahead and hand tighten them in. Then you repeat that process for the other 3 bolt holes. Now what you want to do too is once you've got them all started in there, is take your wrench and fully tighten them down, or you won't be able to get back in there and tighten them up later. So what you want to do is tighten them up nice and snug, but don't over tighten them. Next step, make sure that you have the box that the slide came in on the ground so you don't scratch up the slide as we assemble it. Now it really helps to put the helix in exactly the position that you're looking at it. Otherwise it's unstable and tends to rock around quite a bit. So what we're going to do now is take the short leg and slip it over the leg spud, just like that, and then align the holes in the leg with the leg receiver. Now there are nuts embedded inside the leg receiver. So what you want to do again is take a bolt and then put a lock washer and then a flat washer on it and slip it into the hole. And go ahead and just hand tighten it up. Just like that. Then we're going to repeat the process for the other 3 holes. Okay, the next step is to pick the leg extension up and just slip it over the steel support pole, just like that. Now we're going to insert that pole into the helix right there. Now on the pole, you're going to notice that there's some holes. Let me just zero in a little bit. Right there. And those holes align with the holes in the helix. So just pick up the pole and slide it up into the helix. Align the holes. And then pick up hang on a second. Pick up a bolt and you put a flat washer on it. You slip it through the hole. Like that. Then take another flat washer and a locking nut and just hand tighten it on. You want to keep it a little bit loose because we're going to do the other end. Okay, then go down to the top end of the helix and then take another 5-inch bolt and put a flat washer on it. Then if you'll notice, let me zoom in a little bit, on the cap that goes in the end of the support pole, there's holes in it. There you go. Those holes need to line with the holes in the helix. Yeah, good. Then slip the bolt in from underneath like that. Now, this can be a little tricky, so just you have to work with it a little bit to get it lined up. Great. Then you take a flat washer and a lock washer, acorn nut, and you hand tighten it on. And then what you want to do is go ahead and then take your Allen wrench and fully tighten both those 5-inch bolts. Next step, put the foot onto the ladder. Now, you'll notice that on the ladder, there's the hole where the water hose is going to go through. Now, there's another hole right there. That's where you're going to put the long bolt in. There's 3 bolts that attach the foot to the ladder. So what you do is just, it only goes on one way. Just slip it on and line those holes just like that. And then you take a bolt and a flat washer. You slip it through the hole. Then you take another flat washer and a locking nut. Reach inside and hand tighten them on. And then repeat the process for the other 2 bolts. Now what you want to do though is make sure that you go ahead and reach in there and fully tighten all 3 nuts once you have them all in, because you won't be able to get back down in there and do it again later. Just, yeah, repeat that for all 3. Okay, the next step is to put the entry or the seating section to the steps. Now, before you get started, you'll notice that on the bottom of the seating section, there's the water hose. Now, what you want to do is put it into that female fitting. So you take PVC glue on both the fitting and the hose. And there's a little trick to getting it in. Just bend it like that and let it pop in, and then go ahead and push it up in there just like that. Now you want that glue to thoroughly dry before you go on to the next process here. But for the video's sake, we're just going to go ahead. What you're going to do is you're going to take the hose and you're going to slide it down into the ladder. Now there's some nylon rods that go across there that hold the steps up. You want to make sure that the hose goes behind all those nylon rods. And then it'll come up, it'll pop up right there at the back end through that hole. So what you want to do is just gently pull that hose and slide that ladder up toward the entry section just like that. Good. Now when you get there, what we're going to do is align the holes in the ladder with the holes in the entry section. Now the entry section has nuts already embedded into it. So what you do is you take a bolt and then you take a lock washer and then a flat washer, and you simply thread them in and hand tighten them. Now you want to do that for the other bolts the same way. Just leave them hand tight at this point because you're going to want to do some adjusting a little bit later on. Okay, the next step is to put the all threads into the entry section. Now there's 5 of them. We've inserted 4 of them. What you want to do is just simply hand tighten them into the nuts that are embedded inside the entry section. Now it's important that you just hand tighten them and don't use a pair of pliers to tighten them up. And you just put all 5 in just like that. Just hand snug. And that's the end of that part. Next step, we're going to put the exit section onto the helix. Simply just pick up the exit section, align the bolt holes in the flanges just like that, and take a bolt and a flat washer, slip it through the flange, then a flat washer and a lock washer and a nut. And then you repeat that process for the other bolt holes. Then what you want to do is take your wrench and then in an alternating fashion go ahead and tighten them up. Not too tight at this point, because what we want to do is make sure we have a smooth, even transition on that sliding surface. Then once you have that lined correctly, then go ahead and fully tighten up, again in an alternating fashion, those nuts until you have that gasket fully compressed. The next step is to position the helix in what it will be its final position on the deck. Because the slide itself, when it's fully assembled, is very difficult to move, it's best to position it without the ladder and entry section attached. So once you have it where it's supposed to be, Then take the entry section and the ladder, and you'll notice that on the top there, let me zoom in, there are the all threads sticking out. What you want to do is align them with the holes in the flange right there, and it just pops in just like that. Now the all threads are going to pass through the flange right there, and so what you want to do is take a flat washer and a lock washer and a nut, and just go ahead and reach up under there and hand thread them on. Now we're going to remove the ladder and the entry section here again in just a little bit. So at this point, all you want to do is hand tighten them up enough to keep it securely attached. Okay, and just like I said, repeat the process. And then what we want to do too is ensure that we have a smooth, even transition there on the sliding surface. Right there. Okay. Okay, the next step, we want to make sure that that ladder is at 16 degrees from vertical. So just take your angle finder, let me zoom in a little bit, and check it there with a slope finder, make sure it's at 16 degrees. Great. Now once that, you want to make sure that it's also level from side to side. So take a bubble level, just like that, put it on the side of the steps, and go ahead and move it left or right until it's nice and level. Good. Next step, what we want to do is we want to make sure that there's a 1-inch gap between the feet there. But yeah, exactly. Zero in right there. Make sure there's approximately 1 inch worth of gap right there. And then what you want to do is go ahead and rotate the foot on the support pole until it lines with the holes in the steel plate at the bottom. Then what you want to do is take a marker, and using the foot as a template, go ahead and mark the locations for the anchor bolts. Now we're going to have a short demo here at the end that shows how to drill those holes. What you also want to do is go ahead and remove the ladder and entry section from the helix, and then move it out of the way when you drill. Then once you've got the anchor bolts in, then just reassemble the slide. Okay, now once the slide has been positioned over the anchor bolts and attached, what we want to do is put the handrails on. Before we can put the handrails on, we need to insert the all threads. Now on the you've been given 3 different sizes of all threads. There's 2-inch, 2.5-inch, and 3-inch all threads that go into specific positions onto the handrail. So the positions number 1, 2, and 3 are there. Then 4 and 5, and then 6 and 7. Okay, in positions number 1, 2, and 3, we're going to put a 2-inch bolt, all thread. Simply just screw them in by hand. Yeah, just like that. Then on positions 4 and 5, we're going to use a 3-inch, the longest bolts, all threads. And then on position 6 and 7, we use a 2.5-inch all thread. Now it helps to have a rag with you, because you can get all thread, anti-seize all over your fingers, and you don't want to get it on the slide. There you go. Okay, now that we have the all threads inserted into the handrail, first you want to notice that the handrail itself, you're going to put it on with the logo facing out. The handrails themselves come from the factory with a slight bend to it. Now that's perfectly okay. It's designed to meet the profile of the slide right there. All right, then all you want to do is at the top of the rail there on the entry section, there are 3 holes. Just simply pick it up and place the all threads through the holes. It takes a little bit of alignment. There we go. Good. Now on the back side of the entry section right there, there are 2 additional holes. The all threads slip through, and then the bottom 2 are going to go through the step itself and stick through. Now what you do is you take, let me back up. Okay, you take your extension and your deep socket, and then up under there, the seating section, there are the 3 holes. Just simply slip the extension with the with just a flange nut on it, and you repeat that process for the other 3 holes. Now it's okay to go ahead and just leave those a little loose at this time, because we want to be able to bend that handrail a little bit if we need to. Okay, now on the 2 that go through the steps, you're going to want to take a flat washer and then a flange nut. And then once you've got those on, go ahead and fully tighten each one of those nuts up, and then repeat the process for the other handrail. Then the last thing to do is just hook the water hose to the stub up. And that completes the assembly process for the G4 slide. This is how we install the anchor bolts for the G4 slide. Now the feet that go on the ladder and on the short leg are exactly the same. So what you want to use is the foot itself as a template. Take a marker and go ahead and mark the positions for all the bolt locations. Then you're going to need a masonry bit 3/8, and it should be marked with tape at 1 3/4 inches, because that's how deep we want to drill. That should also be a hammer drill, by the way. So you just go ahead and drill through the concrete to the correct depth, just like that. And you repeat that process for all those other bolt holes. Now make sure you brush away all the debris, sometimes a garden hose or some compressed air to get the debris out of the inside of the hole. And then you're going to take the anchor bolt and just screw a nut onto the top, slip it into the hole, and take a hammer and tap it in until it hits the bottom of the hole. Good, just like that. Take the nut off, and you repeat that process for the other bolts. Now the foot that goes onto the steel support pole has a larger diameter anchor bolt. It also has larger holes in the flange. So what you're going to have to do is change out your bit, and we'll get right back to that. Okay, now for the foot that's going to go on the steel support pole, you're going to need a larger drill bit. You're going to need a 1/2 inch masonry bit. And what you want to do is use your tape and mark it at 2.5 inches, because that's how deep we need to go, just like that, right? If you also do the same thing, use it as a template, mark the locations of the bolt holes, and then just go ahead and drill the hole. Just like that. Again, you want to make sure you clean the debris out of the hole. And you repeat that process for the other bolt holes. Then you take your anchor, you put a nut on top, stick it in a hole, use your hammer, go ahead and tap it in until it hits the bottom of the hole. That's it. Then what we want to do is pick up the slide and position it over all of the bolt holes. Now once the slide's in position over the bolts, then what you want to do is take a flat washer, a nut, and go ahead and tighten them up. Use your wrench and tighten them up nice and firm, but don't over tighten them. Now when you've repeated that process for all the bolts, what you want to do is take the protective caps and slip them over the exposed nuts, just like that, and that completes it.